Project Green School Education is a promotion of sustainable use of cultural and natural heritage and resources. Project code 15.2.1001. The project is co-financed by the European Union through European Regional Development Fund under the Intergraph 5A Romania-Bulgaria program. The content of this movie does not necessarily represent the official position of the European Union. The HO development of the Bulgarian nation is shown in its mastery. We will disclose to you the skills and talent of the Bulgarian in a specific type of art that brings the spirit of past times to this day. We will show you the marvels that people create with their own hands. That's why we'll pass through the weavers, the workshops of the skillful wood carvers, and we'll move to the iron fists of the blacksmiths, descendants of ancient traditions. It is believed that weaving appears thanks to the stock breeding. In the past, there was a loom in every Bulgarian home, and even today, the craft is passed from generation to generation, from mother to daughter, and from grandmother to granddaughter. When she started school, the fifth former, Gergana, received the first lessons in weaving. Since then, she does not miss a day without sitting behind the loom back home or at school. There was an elder woman in my neighborhood that was weaving and I went to see her. She told me that this is the same like if you are sitting in front of the future, and it stirred my enthusiasm. Do you feel the same way even today? Yes, it's like if I'm weaving a picture, if I'm weaving my life and later someone will see it. It's a great feeling when you sit in front of a carpet. Gergana studies in the oldest school in Bulgaria, that's situated in Chiprovtsi, and it's more than 390 years old. They still keep and pass the tradition of carpet weaving. Children at the school are fewer and fewer, but not at the carpet weaving study group. This year, 17 children from 1st to 7th grade will learn how to weave carpets. Small kids are very interested. They do many basic things, but in 2 or 3 years' time they will start making small squares, crosses, and thus there will be a continuity in the study group and it will be able to exist for many more years. Anybody who wants may try to weave a carpet on the loom with a tupica in his hand. Most important thing is to be willing to try and learn. Ever since she was little, my grandmother weaved, and Mom used to tell me that me too, I was helping with some operations. Is it difficult? At the beginning, yes, but not anymore. I was watching my grandmother weaving at home. She did not teach me because old people say that the craft cannot be studied, but it could be stolen. And I was watching there. Of course, they did not give me much to do because I was very little, but I started at grandma's. After I started at school, I signed up here too, so I can weave. For tens of generations, the Chiprovtsi masters followed the ancient Proto-Bulgarian carpet weaving traditions from more than 1,300 years ago. In the house of Spasovi family, Stalina, Tsvetana and Traina have sat to weave together in the morning. The challenge in front of them is nearly 12 square meters of Chiprovtsi carpet. How long does it take to weave such a big carpet? It takes at least a month and a half. Each carpet is made by hand with wood threads, most commonly colored with natural dyes. The biggest advantage is that they have two sides. There is no right and wrong side. You use one side and then, in a while, you reverse it. Another advantage is that it's lightweight, it's not heavy, it's easy to wash and dry. The first information about the carpet weaving in the Chiprovtsi region is from the beginning of the 17th century. The figures in the Chiprovtsi carpet have kept their shape from old times, and each one of them has its own symbolic. The most common pattern is the kanatasi. Woven into the carpet, it symbolizes long life, health, and happiness. Traditionally, they also weave natural patterns such as flowers, birds, trees, and bushes. There should be red and black in almost every Chiprovtsi carpet. The red protects from Lemmy, and the black keeps the devil away. The tradition to execute an old costume accompanied by songs for every single carpet after it's completed and taken off the loom is preserved until today. The ritual is implemented by the weavers who wrap a little girl and the already finished carpet in order to charge it with joy and prosperity. The Chiprovtsi carpets are a phenomenon in the Bulgarian national arts and crafts. They form a part of the world cultural heritage and they're protected by UNESCO. But the artwork with the mind, the hands and the heart in Montana district does not stop here. Next to the banks of the river Danube, a fireplace always burns in the town of Lom. There is a hammer, an anvil and a lot of imagination next to it. This is how a piece of iron becomes a majestic fence, door, parapet or just an ornament of something bigger. We bend here, it takes a little force and this is what you get. And all this by hand? It is all by hand. Some people make it by using machines, but this is the advantage we have, because we make everything by hand. Ivan does not remember his grand-grandfather, a blacksmith. His memories about him are only from the stories heard from his relatives. I even found here some of the stuff he made, and this gave me the incentive to learn. Initially, I had moments when I did not know how to maintain the fire. I was very angry and unfortunately there was none to learn from. Unlike Ivan, his son Marian has now someone to learn from. He's only 26 years old, but his vocation is in his hands ever since he was a child. Everything starts from a draft, a pencil and a sheet. I'm trying to do something that basically cannot be done by the common blacksmiths. I'm trying to make it more different and I succeed. The men even make beds, tables and chairs out of a piece of iron. Is there something that cannot be made of iron? Anything can be made of iron, it just cannot breathe. The blacksmiths are convinced that there is nothing harder and durable in time than iron. Iron will always be one of the hardest things, and its lifespan is extended with 100 years just by being temporarily treated, cleaned and painted. Except the iron, the masters in Montana district enliven the wood too. Each year, various plein-airs are being organized where master woodcarvers use their imagination on a piece of wood. This is how you make a bear or a dog, and why not a flower, to the smallest detail. The woodcarvers are ready to show and teach everyone. And with a smile, they remember their first attempts with wood. The first time I was maybe not even in the kindergarten yet, and I met a bust of Vasilevsky with a brick and with the most basic tools, my grandpa's knife and file. On the plein-air, the woodcarvers show a part of their craft so they can stir other enthusiastic followers from Bulgaria and abroad. When the children come, I let them have a try. When you approach a child the right way, and if it accepts it for a game, it starts playing, and thus everyone starts thinking about the form itself that is created itself. It has a sense of time and space, and it starts thinking otherwise. It could also be said that this craft is very educative, and it is a game that you have to play all your life. The works of modern sculpture and plastic arts are quite diverse stylistically and ideologically. All artist recreates the emotion of his inner worlds. Their workshops are small, but this is where miracles are made. A 70-year-old woodcarver does not stop creating in the mountain village of Slatina. When it is just a flat board, you make your own composition yourself and connect the points. And it is here, for example. This is the so-called plastic carving, and at the same time an ornament known since the ancient times appears in it. Sometimes it is difficult to have just one single point on the board, and starting from it, you have to develop the whole composition. Painters from the area paint the mountain not on a piece of wood, but on a sheet of paper. The beautiful mountains often become the reason why they get the easel and the paints and create. Where the eye does not stop and the nature cannot be described with words, but can only be painted. Bulgaria is a beautiful country that's rich in goat deposits and age-old traditions in goat mining and processing. Our country is placed second after Sweden in goat production in Europe, and the area of Montana is one of the very important places to extract the expensive metal from. During the second part of the 16th century and the beginning of the 17th, Chiprovtsi was famous for its goldsmith school. The works of the Chiprovtsi goldsmith school are exceptional and set apart from the others. Except making horseshoes, they were making communion table crosses, chalices and hubcaps, also very famous. They were only found in 3 places in northwestern Bulgaria. All works with which the Chiprovtsi goldsmith school stood out from the other countries had silver and gilt, and the hubcaps have images of animals and saints. After the Chiprovtsi uprising in 1688, the master goldsmiths fled all over Bulgaria and abroad. At the time they depart and flee, the Chiprovtsi churches were provided with many works of the Chiprovtsi goldsmith school, but they buried somewhere more than 156 chalices and communion cups, and even until today we cannot find them. But in the archive of our province, in the archive of the monastery, it's written that this monk that was here knew the exact place they were buried. Unfortunately, he died, and when this chronicle was written, there was no information about where they could have been buried, and they can only be found by chance. We keep thinking that many things were buried somewhere on the roads through which they were fleeing, because a significant part of the jewelry was found like that near the border. Fine works of the master goldsmiths are stored in the History Museum in the town of Chiprovtsi. Many of the European museums own works of the Chiprovtsi goldsmith school: chalices, repousse, covers of ecclesiastical books, adornments, sacred vessels. Today, more than 300 years since then, there are not many examples of works from this school, but even what we have is enough in order to evaluate its high professional level. But this gold mine does not stop even until today. It is considered that the most gold is among the stones of Augusta River that runs through Montana. Since ancient times, there were extracting gold with wooden pans along the banks of the river in order to make a living. But today, the musician and inventor Andrei Kolev turned the extraction of the precious metal into his hobby. The good thing is that you are in the nature. You expect something to happen, not that you will find something big, but the satisfaction is to find a golden grain. Maybe you need to feel it so that you can explain it. For this purpose, Andrei made a special device with which he can collect the small golden grains easier. He digs deep because the goat is heavy and the chance to find it there is bigger. This is how we wash away the mud and remove the big stones. We're not afraid that something could fall down because the traps here do not let the heavy fraction to come out. So after a minute, native goats settled in the pan with the help of the power of gravity. How can we be sure that we really extract goat? The device serves this purpose. It shows the heaviest that stays on the bottom, and this is the goat itself. There is nothing heavier than it in the river. The man plans to even organize a goat digger course for children, which has to show them in theory and in practice how they can find the golden grains on their own. The crafts represent a story that shows and speaks for its nation. And in the area of Montana, you can see some of the most unique crafts in Bulgaria. Where else, if not here, you can sit behind the loom and weave a carpet. And a grandma from Chiprovtsi that was creating miracles with her hands and mind during all her life to pass it to you. Project Green School Education as a promotion of sustainable use of cultural and natural heritage and resources. Project code 15.2.1001. The project is co-financed by the European Union through European Regional Development Fund under the Intergraph 5A Romania-Bulgaria program. The content of this movie does not necessarily represent the official position of the European Union.